Hello guys, good evening. I hope I'm pretty much visible as well as audible to you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. So, as per our lecture so far, we have been discussing on Seaborn Plots, which is we have realized that's one of the very good visualization platforms which is available in Python. It's one of the package. So we have been discussing about this for I would say quite some detailed different available graphs. So we have seen some of the available graphs. So now in this lecture, we're going to be seeing some other remaining aspects. So we had the graphs remaining in terms of my statistical graphs like the bar graph, my box plots, and something on detail on scatter and even on the heat maps and all. So those I'll try to cover today and show you around what exactly you mean by those graphs and when to use them, and again what is the objective of those graphs and how we can plot that. So we're going to be discussing that, right? So this is our part of our agenda today, guys. I hope you guys are pretty well with me. So meanwhile, as I've always mentioned, if you guys have any questions, anything which you want to talk about regarding your previous lecture or anything else even apart from that, so do feel free to put up your questions in the chat so we can take that accordingly. That should not be an issue. Right. But with then till other people are joining in, meanwhile we can start. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. So as you know, my name is Arpit Jain and I'm a senior data scientist myself, and I have almost 9 years of industry experience, and I'm a motivational speaker too. So I take career mentorship, so I talk to people regarding their careers as well. So you can always put up your questions if you have any doubts regarding your career aspect as well. So we can always take that. And still, guys, I'm telling you, I'm monitoring my chat. So if you have any questions from anywhere, like whatever thing you want to discuss, do feel free to put up your questions in the chat and we can take them accordingly. Cool. So as part of our subjects playlists, Python SQL data science, that's what we have planned. Python we have already started couple of months back, and we have done quite a lot of good things in Python. SQL also we have started a month back, so that is going over the weekends. That is towards your nested queries and all, that is already ongoing. Data science we have started around 4 or 5 days back. So with this stream itself started with visualization. So data science I've actually clubbed it with Python. So I'm trying to explain the concepts and the right applications of the data science things through Python. So that's what the agenda is. And from the code you can see right on the screen, which is Python 10, guys. So with this you can have a free Relevel sample test paper. Okay, so I'm repeating myself. So if you use this code Python 10, you can get a sample free Relevel test paper. So now the question is, what is Relevel? So time for promotion, guys, please bear with me. So many times candidates do miss out on the great opportunities. It could be due to multiple reasons. So it could be like they don't have the better degree, or better degree I mean not from a tier A universities, or not having maybe not having the right networking, right? So they don't know the right people to reach out for the job. Also, whenever they're applying from the resumes to a particular opening, so the resumes are not getting shortlisted because there are 100 other applicants and there is something in the resume which is missing out, right? So there could be one reasons. Also, you are applying for multiple jobs, 50, 60, 100, 200 even jobs, and still you're not getting even a single call for your interview process. Very practical problem, but this happens, this is real, right? And people do face such issues. So in such scenarios, to tackle those problems specifically, this Relevel has been introduced, and it's the first test hiring platform by Unacademy, which is helping job seekers to find their dream jobs. And here the jobs are purely based out on your skills and talent and nothing beyond that. So you don't need a degree or you don't need a proper networking to be part of this platform and to get selected for your jobs. It is purely based on your skills and talent. And what generally happens, guys, here is, I mean, the process here is you have to select a portfolio of your choice. I mean, the platform which you want to be part of and the area of interest basically. And based on that area of interest, you will be asked to go through an assessment basically, and that assessment would be of multiple rounds, and the only expectation there would be from you to get the best score out of those assessment. That's it. And based on that assessment score, the companies will start reaching out to you, right? So I mean, Relevel as a platform has tie-ups with multiple organizations, and they start calling you based on your score. Okay. There are certain other benefits also involved if you participate in the Relevel testing platform. I will brief out you on those. So right now, at least there are 50 plus organizations which have the direct tie-ups from Relevel, and that includes the top startups and even the unicorns, and such as Ernst and Young, Cred, Upgrad, Razorpay, Urban Company, and many more. So they are hiring directly from the Relevel platform. Right now, there are at least 1,000 plus open job position, guys, across three major sections of your job. So business development, front end, and the back end development. Multiple roles are also available within these. I'll brief out you in the upcoming slide. And also the good thing here is like this is completely online, so you can take this from the comfort of your home. You're not to be supposed to be physically present anywhere for all of any of your assessment and the process. On top of this, the best part here is it's completely free. So there is no cost involved as of now. So it's a beta platform. There might be a few charges later on, as I've said. But right now it's completely free. So the only expectation from you is to finish the entire test. So as I've said, there'll be multiple rounds of assessment, right? So you have to finish those entire assessment in a single day's time, and that day could be of your choice. So Relevel score for that test will be revealed in a week's time. Okay. So with this, you'll be actually in a very good position to I would say stand out from the crowd. And how you can do that? If you get the best score out of it, you have the very good chances to stand out from the crowd. And something that stands out always get noticed by the companies. And the only chance for you to get, only way you can stand out from here is getting the best score, right? And right now the qualification score is almost 70%. So and the assessment of is of 1,000 marks, I believe. So 700 is a qualifying score for you, and anything on top of this is like cherry on the cake, right? So that's how it works. And also you can take this test a number of times, but the second attempt only can be taken after 30 days of your first attempt, right? But as I've said, so there's no cost involved anyway, so there's no harm in at least trying it for once, right? So but again, on top of this, there are certain exciting goodies are also involved. So if you are one of the top scorers in a particular category in a month, you will be actually awarded with some goodies such as MacBook, iPhone, and many more, right? So there's no harm anyway, right? And with this Relevel, you'll be actually in a very unique position, guys, to invite interest from the companies instead of you going around and hunting for your own job, right? So once you have the right score, the companies will start reaching out to you once you have given the test. That's it, right? So that's how it works. Registration also is also quite easy on this platform. So you have the link available in the YouTube description. So once you have signed up, you can see get hired, right? So once you have done that, so the next thing they will ask you to choose the test of your choice. So as I was saying, there are three available options right now: business development, front end, and the back end development, depending on the I would say portfolio. You can choose the test of your choice. So multiple roles available here. You can choose the based on your interest. Once you have done that, the next thing they will ask is to choose the date of your choice. Okay, again, the slots are limited, guys. It's a beta platform, as I've said. So you can, I would, only thing which I would request you to, I would say bit fast here, so you can book your slots. It's a limited slots available. So the best date when you have your the best mindset. So choose the date, and then what you can do is fill up your details for your admit card. Do not forget to use the referral code which I have set Python 10 to unlock your bonus sample paper, along with the full name, email ID, birth year, gender, and state, right? So do not forget to mention the referral code which is Python 10. With doing this, you will be actually unlocking yourself a bonus sample test paper. This is very, very important, guys. So this will actually help you to understand the level of questions, the expectation from you from the assessment, right? So as I've said, so once you have used the referral code, a section will open for you which is practice, and you can see a sample paper section there, right? So in blue, so that is how it will help you. So you have the sample paper available with you, so that will actually help you to go for your D-Day. So once you've done that, that's it. So wait for your D-Day, give your best. And again, I'm repeating this, there's no harm in at least trying it for once, guys. So do register for the Relevel platform today. You have the link again in the description. So it's your best opportunity to do that. So again, look for your at least the best available slot based on your perfect mindset. Along with this, guys, also I've said we have an official Telegram channel. The link is again there in the YouTube description, so do not forget to join this channel. So this is the one place stop to have all of your queries on the upcoming schedules and the classes and whatsoever. So at least try it for once, right? And again, guys, the bare minimum which we can ask from you is please press the like button, right? So if you feel that you're getting benefited, do feel free to motivate us as well. So that always helps, right? Cool. So now with this, we are into a content slide. So we are into Python for data science, and this is our playlist, and that we are into our Seaborn Plots part 3. So today, till date, we have been discussing about a lot of other available functions in the plots. So we have done that. Anybody has any questions? Thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for giving a thumbs up. But again, I'll again repeat, guys, anybody has any questions from the previous plots which we have done, and anything even from the lecture, I'm okay to answer that, right? If not, then maybe we can jump to Seaborn. So again, guys, if you have any questions, right, so do feel free to let me know your questions, so we can take them up accordingly. So it should not be a problem for me. So I'm going to give you maybe 30 seconds. So if you have anything to highlight, so maybe I can take those questions, or I'll just give you a quick recap, and then I'll jump to the next set of plots. Okay. So guys, again, I'll always encourage you to ask as many questions as you can. So please be active in the chat if you really want to learn. Okay. Cool. So as I was saying, Seaborn is more of a package where it's a high-level API where you are getting options to plot multiple graphs, right? And it's an advancement on top of Matplotlib, the standard ones. From the graph perspective, so I was talking about few things, right? So yeah, I was talking about this thing earlier. So I was talking about how you can change the I would say the background and the alternative option. So we have for the background, so we have two things: set style and set context, right? Set style function is basically for your background themes and all. So set style where we have dark grid, white grid, and all that. So you change the background theme. And set context is for scaling of your data, right? So set context, how you remember, so we changed our context of our data. So in context we can do it so we can do it in terms of poster, notebook, and all that. So that also option available. You can see this, we have changed the scaling of my data. So when I'm used a different context, maybe poster, so I have 4 options available here. So two kind of changes in your overall layout of your graph: set style and set context. Okay, along with the set style, so we have another axis style, so which is a sub bonus, I would say, on top of my grid. So again, axis style also gives you a lot of functionalities. Okay, so you can see a list of functionalities available here. So some of them I try to show you, like you can put the axis below or top of your grid. You can change the color of your background and even change the color of your grid. A lot of options available, guys. Just feel free to play around. So you can change the theme of your lines and all that. So a lot of options available. Please feel free to play around. Any questions, do ask me that. We discuss about color palettes. So again, SNS, I mean the Seaborn comes with a lot of available palettes. So here is an exhaustive list of palettes. You can get it online, this list, or even if you just put an error, right? So any random name will give you an error. So like for example, I'll show you. It will give you an error, and this error you'll be able to see the list of available things which you can use for as a color palette. So again, a very good thing, so you can always try it. So always important to understand what all options are available. So when to use which color, always important. So three types of data. So random, anything is fine. Sequential means, I mean, it's increasing order. So greens or blues. Diverging means maybe red on the left hand side, green on the right hand side. So some kind of diverging data, right? So based on that, you can choose your color palette. Now coming to our plots, we discuss about univariate and the bivariate analysis. If you remember, guys, univariate we discuss about this plot. So we are talking about my distribution of my single data. Univariate means single variable, right? So distribution of my single variable data, and in that we use the existing available data set. So we used iris available in the Seaborn package itself, right? And that's what we did. We used the function distplot. You remember, we used the distplot function. Distplot mein we are passing a single variable, that is my univariate analysis, right? So this will give you a beautiful looking graph here, right? And you have two things to notice here. First is my bars, so which is this rectangular vertical boxes, and then this line, the run line. Okay, so we call this KDE. Okay, so this bar is basically nothing but giving you the frequencies of I would say the density of my available data on the particular bins. So here the concept of bins. Bins means you are splitting the data, like the entire range of data, into smaller groups. For example, as I was mentioning about the real life example of age. So if I have say age of say 0 to 100, that's the range, right? But to plot a distribution plot, what it does, it divides into smaller bins. Bins means groups. For example, I can make a first group of 0 to 20 years of age, 20 to 40 second group, second bin, and then 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 to 100. Likewise, I've divided this 0 to 100 overall data into 5 smaller bins, right? And in that, I'm trying to identify what is the overall number of information, data points available in each of my smaller bins. So that's what it is giving you in this bars, okay? So individual frequencies, individual density of your observation available in smaller bins. That's what it is. And then this line gives you the trend, how the trend is. It is increasing, decreasing. And if it's like something like this, like a reverse bell or a reverse U, so that is something called as a normal distribution, or I would say following the central limit theorem, normalized data and all that. So that's what a normal distribution is. Okay, so following the bell curve. For example, now look at this. Instead of doing one variable which is sepal length, I'm doing into petal length. So two different variables. So now in this you can see this, it's not following, not making a bell curve, not making two different peaks, right? So that's not a normal data. This is not a normalized data. It is not a normal data. Okay, so likewise, this is the inference of your distribution plot. So that's what we do, right? Now on top of this, in the bivariate, we discuss about one plot, which is joint plot. And in this joint also we discuss about two more advancements, which is hexbin, and also talked about KDE plot, right? So joint plot, again doing the bivariate analysis. That means that trying to understand the relationship between two different variables, not a single variable now, two different variables. Now I'm passing both X and Y here, right? You can see this, and you can see the graph plotting up here. So there are two sections here. First is the square box where I have the X and the Y given petal length and the petal width. So now this is my scatter plot coming up like in the dots fashion. And on the top of this, you can see the univariate analysis, univariate plots also available for individual columns here on the top and the right, right? This is again a very good benefit of using the joint plot, right? So here again, I have told you how you're going to read this graph. This is very important, right? So can you see this? There is an upward positive trend, very clear upward positive trend. So that means that whenever my petal length is increasing, my petal width is also increasing, right? So there is a direct correlation available. So you have to understand how to read the graph. This is very important, right? So now again, advancement on top of this is hexbin. So we can use the same joint plot, but in the function I can give the kind as hex. That means that now I don't want this in the form of a scatter plot or this form of a dots. I want in the form of a this hex bins. Okay. So the difference between these two graphs is, in here you are plotting the individual observations, right? This single dot is individual observation, but in this hex bin, this means that the density of your observation. This means that you can see that the darker areas, that means that this is highly concentrated zone. That means that the number of observation comparatively to my overall population, in this section the number of observation is the highest. There is a bigger, there is a the number of observation in this zone is the max, right? So you can see two zones falling up, one here and one in the starting itself, right? And also by this you can see you have a bigger cluster here and maybe a bigger cluster again here, this section. So again, this is how it is plotting up, right? So you can see this and this section, this is your showing up your density basically. So the number of observation available in this section is higher. So that's what it shows. So again, depending on your objective, what exactly you're looking for from your data, what exactly you want to understand. So you have multiple options available, right? So you can use it likewise. The third is, instead of using hex here, we can use kind as KDE. So similar plot, same thing, it is plotting same thing, but in the form of a line here. So these all are lines. You can see it's two circles, right? This is one circle. This is again maybe lighter circle. So this is more concentrated. This is lesser concentrated. So I have again two bigger two chunks following up in that region. So this is again giving you density, but in a different way, right? So everybody has their own perception. So you have the option, depending on your usage and requirement, you can plot the graphs accordingly, right? Now on top of this, for the bivariate itself, we have again another plot available, which is RelPlot. Okay, so RelPlot is again giving you the similar observations like doing the bivariate analysis itself, but again here the functionality is a bit different. So you have another set of I would say functions available, arguments available here. So in this right now we have loaded another data set, tips, again available under my Seaborn itself. So now here you can see this also, I'm passing my X and Y here. Okay, so X and Y again, since it's a bivariate analysis, so I'm passing both my X and Y's, which I want to be part of my graph, right? And now on top of this here in the kind, so in the RelPlot we have two kinds majorly. So I have scatter and line plot. Okay, so line as in, again I'll show you how the line looks like, basically this only. And then I have scatter plot, this. So basically in the form of dots, individual observation has to be plotted, okay, on the X and Y plots. So by default is scatter. So if I won't give scatter also, by default in RelPlot is scatter only. Okay. So again, if you want to specify a line chart, then you have to give kind as line. So that will be giving you a line chart on top of RelPlot. So I'll show you that also. So now can you see this? If I've plotted total bills and tips. Okay. So I've given total bills on X and tips on the Y. You can see this again, there is an upward trend. Okay. So as long as my bill is increasing, my tip is supposed to increase, but here the errors are more, right? So it's not a very strong relation. So you can see this, it's fanning out. I mean, the values, the observation are spreading. It's not concentrated in a single zone. So it's not a very clear upward trend, but whether a spread out trend. Okay, so that means that it's not a very strong relationship, but yes, there is an upward trend. So there are chances that with the total bill, there are chances that tip might increase. How much it will increase, what will be the range, that you can tell you with that you can tell with the help of the confidence interval. So that is the error. I'll talk about that confidence interval also in the graph. But again, you can also specify minimum value kya ho sakta hai, maximum value kya ho sakta hai. So you can also tell all of these very precise information also. That is also possible. Okay. So that's how the things work here. Again guys, any questions, the only important thing is graph बना देने से कुछ नहीं होता है, ग्राफ को रीड करना आना चाहिए, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है, अगेन आई एम स्ट्रेसिंग आउट ऑन दिस. एनीबडी हैज एनी क्वेश्चन, प्लीज पुट अप योर क्वेश्चन, वी कैन ऑलवेज टेक दैट. आपको मैंने बताया था रेल प्लॉट में ऑप्शन है लाइन चार्ट का भी, काइंड मैंने लाइन कर दिया, तो अगेन वो सिर्फ डॉट्स को कनेक्ट कर रहा है. बट मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इस चार्ट में इसका बहुत ज़्यादा रेलेवेंसी नहीं है. बट अगेन इसमें आपको ये चीज़ पता चल रही है, ये भी ग्राफ जो है ऊपर की तरफ बढ़ रहा है, बट इसके स्पाइक्स जो हैं, जो पहले स्पाइक्स छोटे थे, अब स्पाइक्स बढ़ते चले जा रहे हैं लास्ट में, राइट. दैट मीन्स दैट एरर का जो रेंज है वो बढ़ता चला जा रहा है. तो अगेन ये ऐसे आप इन्फ्लुएंसेस ले सकते हो स्टार्ट में, बट अगेन आपकी क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन है, व्हाट आर यू लुकिंग फॉर फ्रॉम द डेटा, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू हैव टू प्लॉट अ ग्राफ. किसी को कोई इशू है इसमें, ये समझ में आ रहा है प्लॉट्स? Nobody is responding, so I am considering it yes. Okay, so please stop me guys. ये हमने ऑलरेडी देख लिया, इसलिए मैं थोड़ा फटाफट कर रहा हूँ इसको. ठीक है, अभी इसमें मैंने लास्ट क्लास में एक बहुत अच्छा कॉन्सेप्ट इंट्रोड्यूस किया था ह्यू का. सो ह्यू इज अ वेरी गुड आर्ग्यूमेंट अवेलेबल इनसाइड योर बाइवेरिएट एनालिसिस. ओके, ये ह्यू आपके और भी आगे मल्टीपल ग्राफ्स में ऑप्शन आएगा, आई विल शो इट टू यू. बट ह्यू जनरली इज अ वेरी गुड आर्ग्यूमेंट. इसमें क्या होता है, you can actually introduce another granularity on top of your graph. So now here अभी मैंने क्या करा था, earlier I was just plotting the total bill with tips with respect to total bills, right? But now what I'm doing here is maybe I want to see what is the trend of individual tips with respect to total bills every day. Is the trend changing every day? So I want to introduce a more granularity, how it is changing day wise, right? So now I've used Hue, so that means that now the graphs will be plotted every day wise, right? So day wise. So now you can see I have 4 different unique days available: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, given 4 different colors. So it's more granular. So right, so we can find out the trend day wise also, or maybe you can add 2 more granularity. So I have another granularity available in terms of column. Okay, so I have another function available as call. Okay, so now I have added 2 granularities, 2 granular levels here. So I want the same total bill and tips to be analyzed, but day wise as well as gender wise, whether the person is male or female. I want to find out kya trend hai iska. So now what I've done is, can you see this? So now I have plotted first based on days. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, multiple columns, multiple graphs ban gaye mere, and individual graphs maybe I'm doing male and female ka kya trend hai, right? So again we have to read this. You can see Fridays को बहुत कम population है and Sundays को बहुत ज़्यादा data points है, Sundays को बहुत ज़्यादा लोग आते हैं, है ना? And आप देख सकते हो tips की यहाँ पे क्या मुझे दिख रहा है interesting trend यहाँ पे Saturdays को tip amount थोड़ा मतलब outliers in tips are more, so the chances of you getting the higher tip is maybe higher in on Saturday, right? And that too males are paying more tips. So if somebody is as a male is coming up for dine out, so there are chances that they'll give you more tips. So something interesting you're finding out, right? Saturday hai party ka day hota hai. I mean, generally people go out on Saturday nights, right? So and they tend to spend more, right? So that's a very good trend. So reading out of your graph is very important, guys. Always remember that. Gaurav says it is clearly seen that low price billing customer paying their tips rather than high class more. Exactly, very good observation. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Yes, I'll come to that graph. In fact, yes, absolutely correct. You can see this. So now you can see you can see this the number of data points in this section, right? So definitely people are paying. I mean, the people who are wherever the I would say the bill amount is lesser, at least they are paying something, right? And you can see the errors are higher on the high. The errors or the ranges are very high on the higher bill ranges, right? So the other way around, you can also infer that the people where the bill amount is lesser, they are paying according to your capacity, like maybe 5% or 10% of their bill amount. But that ratio is not constant when we go up higher in the class, right? Very good observation, Gaurav. Thank you so much for that. Right, so likewise, reading of your graph is very important, guys. It's not only about plotting the graph, okay? So plotting the graph, it's just like a code you're running, right? Anybody can do that. Even machine, you can just automate it. Even machine can give you these graphs, right? But machine cannot tell you the inference of this graph, right? So you have to make sure that आप क्या figure out कर पाते हो इस graph में से, वो बहुत important है, because based on that inference you will be doing some sort of thing. Now इसका objective क्या है, अभी graph बनाने का objective क्या है? अभी आपको पता चला कि सैटरडे को मेल्स का बिल ज्यादा आता है, मेल्स के टिप अमाउंट ज्यादा है, तो अब बिजनेस एज अ बिजनेस पर्सपेक्टिव आप क्या सोचोगे कि यू कैन टारगेट सर्टेन पीपल जो आपको दिख रहे हैं जिनका बिल अमाउंट ज्यादा हो सकता है, यू कैन गिव देम सम मोर ऑफर्स, मे बी यू कैन try to attract them for something so that they can pay more, right? आप कुछ स्ट्रेटेजी बिल्डअप करोगे on top of that. Exactly, we'll serve meals on Saturday. Yes. So exactly, अगर आपको आप ये इन्फर ही नहीं कर पाओगे इस ग्राफ में से, तो आप स्ट्रेटेजी कैसे बिल्ड करोगे, राइट? ग्राफ बनाना एंड काम नहीं है, ग्राफ के ऊपर एक्शन लेना एज अ डेटा साइंटिस्ट का काम होता है, ओके? सो ग्राफ को रीड करना इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, गाइस. आई एम स्टिल टेलिंग यू दैट. गौरव, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर आंसरिंग दैट. अगेन गाइस, इफ एनीबडी हैज एनी डाउट्स इन रीडिंग द ग्राफ्स, वो समझ में नहीं आता है आपको, डू लेट मी नो, बिकॉज मेरे को कोर्स खत्म करने से कुछ बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा यार. मतलब I mean, if you're looking me to cover the entire thing, it will not benefit you in any way if you're not understanding, right? So reading the graph is very important. Please, I'm still insisting this. If anybody has any doubt in reading the graph, do let me know that. ठीक है, बाकी functions तो मैं आपको दिखा दूंगा फटाफट क्या कैसे कौन सा ग्राफ बनता है. ठीक है, अभी इसमें इंटरेस्टिंग चीज दिखाता हूं आपको. इसमें आई थिंक मैंने आपको कल ये भी दिखाया था. रेल प्लॉट में नाउ आई एम प्लॉटिंग सम अगेन इंटरेस्टिंग प्लॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइज. ओके, साइज आपको डेटा में बताता हूं साइज क्या था. साइज बेसिकली ये है कि the number of people who are going together to dine out. Okay, for example, here you can see this where the bill amount is $17, tip was $1, and the tip paid by a female. She was a non-smoker, went on Sunday on dinner with 2 people. Okay, so they went as a couple. So now here I'm plotting a graph between my size, which is my number of people dining out, and the tip. Okay, very interesting trend here. You can see this. As long as my family size or the number of people dining out are increasing, this tip amount is also increasing irrespective. I'm not saying that your family size is equivalent or directly proportional to your bill amount. I mean, technically it will be, because more number of people dining out, bill will be higher, but they can order maybe a cheap South Indian dish, right? So they can have a lesser bill. Right, so it's not. I'm not giving you a direct relationship between bill and the size. I'm giving you a relationship between size and the tip. Right, so that's again a very interesting thing. So now with this, maybe a restaurant owner can target the family, so they can give more leverage discounts to the families. They can tell them, if you come more than 5 people, I'll give you 10% more discount. Right. So that's how you can build up a strategy. So you can very interesting plot this. But again, also you can see this here. I was talking about the confidence interval, right? You remember just a few minutes back. So this shaded region along top and the bottom of the line, you can see there's a shaded region, the gray shaded region, right? So this is my confidence interval, my interval of my errors. So basic Hindi mein error ka range kya hoga? That is your confidence interval. Okay. So here आप देख सकते हो आपका जो family size अगर छोटा है, like it's between 1 to 3, the errors are less. So I'm very confident that if my family size is 2, for example, the tip amount will be ranging from the lower, which is set somewhere around 2.5, and the higher is 2.7. So the range is very small. I'm very confident that the tip will lie somewhere between 2.5 to 2.7 of dollars, right? If the family size is 2. But if the family size is say 5, right, then the error is more. So most of the time is 4, but there is a probability that your tip can range from say 3 to 5. So range is very high here, right? The errors, the chances of errors are more. I mean, the errors are more here, right? So we are not very confident by saying that you will get exactly 5 or somewhere around 5. आपको पता नहीं है. Right, the errors are more. 3 भी मिल सकता है, 5 भी मिल सकता है. ये कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल होता है. किसी को कोई डाउट है इस कॉन्सेप्ट में? कूल, यहां तक हमने पढ़ा था पहले. अब इसके बाद मैं आज जो इंट्रोड्यूस करूंगा आपको, वो थोड़ा एक डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ प्लॉट है. बेसिकली वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट पेयर प्लॉट. सो नाउ we have been analyzing our individual graphs, like maybe I would say univariate analysis or a bivariate analysis, right? But in the data set, I have say 50, 60 columns, or I have say not even the 50, 60 is still too high. I would say I have 10, 20 columns, right? So am I supposed to plot 10, 20 times a single graph to understand every other relationship? I would still say in some odd cases, yes, might be, right? To understand it, to make it more clearer, yes, you might be plotting multiple graphs of the similar type for multiple different available columns. Yes, could be possible. But again, also in that case, we have an option to use a pair plot. Okay. So pair plot, what it does, guys, so it actually gives you an option to plot the similar graph, the similar type of a graph for all the available columns. Okay, so this is a very interesting and very important available graph. So again, some sort of I would say Important arguments available like data, your data which you'll be passing. So here you're not passing any X or Y, okay? You're just passing the data which you want to be part of this pair plot, okay? So remember, we're not passing any X and Y's here, okay? So we have hue. So again, I have told you hue. So basically it's like a granular level on which you want to add to your data. Palette, the color palette, basically if you want to introduce any specific color palette up to your model. Kind, we have two basic kinds here, the scatter plot and the regression, the reg plot. I'll talk about both of them. Diagonal kind, which is a new feature here. So I'll show you first and then I'll explain you this argument. So now I'm using the data set iris. Okay, so now look at this graph. So I'm passing this data set iris completely. Okay, and now look at this. I am not able to I would say minimize this, so I'm very sorry for that. But again, look at this. In the hues, in the hue I've passed a species. So basically for each individual species there'll be a different color available here, right? So that's the meaning of my view. So I'm adding a granularity on top of my data. So I've added hue as species, so every individual species will be given a different color. So that's the end objective, and that's the end output I'm expecting from the graph. Okay, diagonal kind as KDE, that means that the diagonal graph, again, now I'll first show you the graph. You can see this on the bottom X, I have all the columns, all the numerical columns here. Remember this, all the numerical columns. Okay, sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. So I had 5. So I'll just first show you my data also. Just a minute. This is my data. Okay, so I have 5 columns here: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width, and species. Okay, so these 4 are basically my I would say what is they are the numerical columns, right? So now on top of this, the species is basically my categorical column, correct? So now I'm plotting. Just give me a minute. So I am actually facing some network issues. Right. So I was saying this. So here you can see on the graph, I have the numerical columns here: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, right? And now you can see this on the same columns are also available on the y-axis also. So this is basically my combination plot. Okay. So now can you see this? So for the first, this graph, the lower left hand side graph, this is the graph between my petal width and the petal length. Okay. Now this again on the x-axis, the lower line, the second graph is between petal width and petal and sepal width. Okay, the third is between petal length and petal width, and the fourth is between petal width and petal width. This is the univariate analysis. So for the univariate analysis, I have these diagonal graphs. Okay, so the diagonal graphs are from univariate analysis, and for the univariate analysis, I have given the diagonal kind. Okay. So I have the diagonal kind available here. This diagonal kind I have given KDE. This is what I want. Okay. So the diagonal graphs are coming in form of my run charts, my run lines. Any questions, guys? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds if to digest this. Any questions here? Guys, any question? Okay. So I feel that this is making sense to you guys and you're able to relate this, right? So instead of this scatter also, we can give an option of line. So we can change this individual scatter plots also, but again, it depending on your requirement. And also the diagonal kind, basically the univariate analysis of my graph. So basically because it's between my individual columns, right? So between petal width and petal width. So that's the univariate analysis, right? So that's how we can take care of. So that's how it works. Okay. So I believe it making sense. So you have both the bivariate as well as the univariate analysis plotted for all the available columns. Okay, so now you can imagine if you have say 20 odd columns, right? You can still plot the graph. So because now in that case you have to plot 20 cross 20, so like maybe 400 graphs, right? So individual 400 graphs. So in that case you can actually make it into one single graph, but again plotting would be a bit tricky. So a bit tricky to understand, to interpret, but again depending on your requirement you can pass the specific columns also. So you can actually frame up your things. Cool. So guys, that's how my pair plot works. Very important graph. So very important graph. Again, any questions, do let me know. Okay, I'm jumping to my I would say more of categorical plots now. So categorical now, you remember the plots which we have plotted so far is all on numerical data, right? Even for the hex bin plots, my univariate, my bivariate, all whatever plots we have done so far, they are all numerical data, right? So they are all numerical data, correct? So because you remember we were doing the distribution plot, again a number distribution of numbers, bivariate plots, the hex bins, the join plot, the scatter also, right? XY, we are giving all the numerical data, right? So now how do we plot the categorical data? Categorical means which is not a number, okay, which is a suppose, for example, a string, okay, like for example in this data, what is my categorical information? So I just plot the df here again. So here the categorical information is species, right? So this species is a text, is a string, right? So these are my categorical information, which is not a number, okay? So these are my categorical data, okay? So you have to understand that. Now how to plot individual categorical information on top of with my, I mean anyway the plotting would be numbers only, but you're gonna combine a numerical along with your categorical data, okay? Now this time the both would not be number, one is category, one is number, okay? So there are again certain good plots available for such kind of jobs. So to start with, we have strip plot and swarm plot, okay? So strip plot and swarm plot are one of the very beautiful available functions. There are certain more. I'll talk about each of them one by one. But again, to have such kind of plots available for the categorical versus numerical, we have something called a strip plot. Also, we have swarm plot, and also there are certain other graphs. I'll come to that one by one. Okay. So now again I have loaded the same data set iris. So I've showed you the data set which is df. So I'll just again print it here. So this is my same data set, so which I've plotted. Now what I want from this is I want the x to be my species now. Okay, so my x is my species and y is my petal length, which is one of my numerical variables. Okay, so now look at this. So can you see this? So what it does is, so in the species we have three different species available: Setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Right? So I have three different species available. So now for each of these different three species, what is the distribution of my petal length? So can you see this? The Setosa petal lengths are actually in a very smaller range. So Setosa petal length is only between 1 and 2. So they are very smaller plants, smaller leaves, right? If I know the other leaves, right? So yeah. So Setosa are the very smaller leaves, right? You can see this. The petal length is only between 1 to 2, right? But for the versicolor, you can see this. It is in the range of 3 to maybe 5.5 somewhere. I can see this, right? but again the range is bit higher. Can you see this? Here the range is low, so it is concentrated. So again the outliers are less, it is more concentrated in a single location, right? But here in the versicolor, can you see this? Although with respect to setosa, they are the bigger leaves, but also they have the higher range. That means that again the chances of the confidence interval which you talk about, right? It could be higher here. The errors could be more if you go for predictions and all that. So the ranges are high here, right? So I mean the minimum and the maximums are more. And comparatively to versicolor, virginica are the high, I mean is the longest leaves, I mean is the biggest leaves I would say. So the petal lengths are again the highest here, right? So are you able to get this? So now I have plotted my the categorical variable on the x-axis and the numerical on the y-axis. Clear, guys? Clear? Cool. An alternative to this is swarm plot. Okay. So what it does is it actually gives you more of a spread, the same thing. I'm just plotting the same graph, and can you see this? It actually spreads out my information. So this is more of a the individual data points. So for example, suppose here, can you see this? The dots are getting overlapped, right? So there are for example, this region you have multiple dots available, right? So multiple dots available, and for this you can see this, it's more of a concentrated region for me. Multiple dots available here, right? So I do not know what is the density of my, I mean I don't know the number of observations. So if I want to find out, maybe I mean how more number of observations are here. So that is an alternative to my strip plot is swarm plot. So here each of the individual data points is plotted here, okay? And if any particular point is getting overlapped, it will spread out horizontally. So can you see this? On this particular value for setosa, where the value is around say 1.4, I have the maximum number of points. So the number of leaves whose petal length is 1.4 in setosa is the maximum I can get it from this. So here in each individual data points will be visible to you. Each individual observation will be visible to you. Okay. But on the other hand, in strip plot, you won't be seeing the all the data points. It will get overlapped. So that's the minute difference. And again, depending on the usage. Now, for example, this is a smaller data set, right? So hardly 200 data points. What if I say 1 lakh or say 10 lakh data points? You cannot have all the 10 lakh data points plotted on the same scatter plot, right? And you want every points to be visible, right? So it becomes really tedious. So either you have to reduce the size of these dots to a like merely negligible level, or I mean you are having a magnifying glass to see that, right? So again, it depends on your data, it depends on your usage. You have to find out, okay? So which is your right plot. Make sense? कोई डाउट है स्वॉर्म प्लॉट स्ट्रिप प्लॉट में? Okay, so I have one question. Interview scheduled with Fastenal for software developer. Please tell how good is this company. Please tell. I mean, yeah. Okay. To be honest, I cannot give this very specific personal answer. So I'm not supposed to do that. I cannot say I cannot promote or de-promote any organization or firm. So that's against the policy. But again, see again, I mean, to help you out, you can always have a Google reviews done. Maybe you can talk to the alumni of those companies and try to understand the company, right? So that would be my advice to you. Oh, I hope you can understand that point. Right? Any other questions, guys? Cool. So with this, let's proceed. Okay. So now we have, I think we're almost towards the end of our plots. Okay. So here in this, now we have the distribution of my observations. So now within each of the categories. So remember, so there are certain very common graphs which I did not cover so far. Again, the reason was, if I would have introduced that to you very early, you would have been like, this is it. Okay, we have one question from Sandeep. What is this horizontal width in swarm plot? Okay, so horizontal width up मैंने बताया Sandeep. It's the, so okay. Now look at the difference here. So here you can see this, the observation, so here one dot, so one orange point or one blue point is one observation basically, okay, one row to be very precise. Okay, so now in Setosa I have, say for example, 50 points, 50 observations, right? So plotting those 50 observation, what it does is it also, some of the points will be falling under the same region, right? So here the points are getting overlapped. Okay, so you're not able to count those individual 50 points because some of them are getting overlapped. You can see the darker blue regions, right? Likewise here and likewise here, right? So, but here in Swarm, what it does, it makes sure that all the individual data points are getting plotted. So you can actually count the number of observations available in Setosa by this. Okay, so all the individual observation are made sure that it is plotted and it is visible, right? So here it means that when the width is high, that means that the number of observation, for example, for Setosa I'll take, right? So you can see this is the area where the number of observation is the max, right? So I could say that, and the value is around 1.4. So I would say that the Setosa has the maximum number of observations whose value is 1.4 as petal length. Is that point clear, Sandeep? Cool. Great. So with this, let's proceed to our another set of graphs, which is like distribution of my observations. Okay. So now I have, I was saying about the categorical plots, right? So categorical data with respect to my numbers. So I was doing it through box plot, and I'm sorry, I was doing it through swarm plot and strip plot. That is also an option. But again, if you want to understand the distributions individually, so for that, I have one of the very convenient way and very, I would say, most frequently and prominently used graphs, which is box plot. Okay, so box plot, one of the very good plots available to actually showcase your the same of a distribution of your observation. But here again, you have to make sure that one of your observation here is categorical and the other is your numerical data. Okay, again same type of graph. So one has to be categorical information, the x or the y axis, and the other one has to be a numerical data. Okay guys, no issues here. So now let me first plot the graph and then show it to you how basically it looks. Okay, so now let me show it to you. So now I have used the same graph. Okay, the same graph. So remember, I was still plotting species with the petal length. So same graph I have used. Okay, so now let's try to understand how exactly these works. Okay, so now in this basically my graph, now look at this, the orange one. Okay, so this is more clearer picture, so I'll be able to show it to you. So now here you can see this, I have three different parallel lines. Okay, so I have the bottom, this line, and inside the box I have my another line, and the third is my top line. Okay, you can see this. So I have my three different lines, parallel lines here, the bottom line, the mid line, and the top line. So we call it as whiskers. Okay, Any doubts here? So the top, so basically here this one and the lower one. So this gives you the entire range of your data where my observations are present. Okay, so technically if I go in terms of numbers, these are the quartiles. Okay, so the quartiles of your information. So basically this is your 25th quartile, 25th percentile of your data, and the top is your 75th percentile of your data. Okay, any doubts here, guys? So this information is basically giving you that your mean value is in the middle line, your 25th quartile is your other line, and the 75th on the top line, and anything on top of this whiskers. So whiskers, any data point, you can see a diamond looking thing here below the whiskers, right? So anything beyond your whiskers is your outlier. It is not within your normal ranges. Okay, so this range, so we call this interquartile range, IQR. Okay, so the top whisker minus the lower whisker, this is your IQR basically, and in this we say that any value which is beyond your whiskers is your outliers. Okay, any doubts here, guys? So this is giving you a very beautiful, and can you see this here? Look at the data here. So Setosa, can you see this? The range of your data is quite less. So this is a very small box. The range is very less. But also we observed that the number of outliers is actually high in Setosa, because beyond the quartile ranges, I could see some of the data points. These are my outliers. Okay, these are not within my normal ranges. And actually we saw, from the visual perspective, we were thinking that they all are very normal. Okay, but since the number of data points, the density of my data points is very high on the smaller range, this is making that the other data point which is beyond that range is an outlier. This is how it is taking as. But on the other hand, this data set, the distribution is not concentrated. So any of my data points, the number of data points in a particular locality is not high. So the density is not high. That is the reason why it is taking as no outlier, because although the range is high, but the data is all within the expected ranges. So there is no outlier in my Virginica. So sometimes it becomes really trickier to understand from one graph. So you plot multiple graphs to get the expected information out of it. Right? Making sense to you guys? Again, I'm taking a 30 seconds pause here. If anybody has any questions, do let me know that. Okay. Guys, do feel free to put up your question in the chat. So again, I can actually plot it in any combination. So again, based on my available requirement, what do I need from the graph? What is the expectation? So I can actually took out any combination and try to plot the graph. So now you can see this here. I was plotting with the species and the petal length, right? But now here I'm plotting the data between my day and the total number of bills. So basically I'm using the tips data here. So now I'm trying to understand, is the total bill which is being paid on a particular day, what is the range? And you remember we saw some outliers in the Saturday data. We saw some big numbers on the Saturday data, and these three are the male guys, right? Remember, these are the males who were paying the bills, right? So, and you are able to see this. So on the Saturday, we are seeing that there were three outliers, very specific outliers on Saturdays. There are. So on the normal days, Thursday, Friday and Sunday, so the ranges are actually comparatively lower in Thursday and Friday. So basically on Thursday and Friday, the number of people paying the bill is below $30, the max between 10 to 30. But in Friday, the range is say 5 to 30. But on Saturday, the range is quite high, between say again maybe 2 to 3 to 40. The range is quite high. So that's what we can observe from these graphs. So your distribution of your individual data points based on a particular category, right? So remember, box plot is again the kind of a graph where you're plotting the categorical data along with your numeric. Cool. So that's how it is. So I can give your anything. And I was talking about hue, right? So hue can be introduced in almost, I would say, all of your graphs. So hue is a very standard and very prominent argument available in Seaborn, so which you can actually use to insert any extra granularity on top of your graph. So now the same graph, okay, the same graph, the day and the total bill, I'm now splitting it based on my gender, so basically my male and female. So now can you see this? I have just used it, so, and it has bifurcated the same single Thursday Friday graph into two different things. So now I have here male and female, so the pink is male and the brown is female. And can you see this? I have a big outliers. I have outliers for females on Thursday, and I have some really good outliers on Saturday for males, and on Sunday also we have outliers in males. The range is also high. And also on Fridays you can see that the females are not paying that much bills, maybe ladies night out, or and Fridays the males are paying more bills. They are happy for the weekends and they're trying to do something else. So I mean, clear observations, right? So you can try to find out very interesting things. So the thing is, you have to understand the business objective, business relation of your output variable, this the graph which you're getting, right? And then you have to relate it, frame up a story, and then based on that story you have to develop your own strategy for your business. Everything boils down to money, okay? Everything boils down to money in business. So whatever you are doing, it has to have some sort of relevancy to your business, and business means money, okay? सो अल्टीमेटली आप जो भी एनालिसिस करोगे उसको बिजनेस में कैसे यूज करोगे, ये ऑब्जेक्टिव होना चाहिए, है ना? आप जब तक अपने क्या कहते हो एकेडमिक्स में हो, तो यू आर इन योर कंफर्ट जोन, सो यू आर ऑलवेज थिंकिंग अबाउट जस्ट एक प्लॉट करना है, सर को दिखाना है, दे विल गिव सम गुड मार्क्स एंड ऑल दैट. But again, once you start working, right, so everything is beyond your academics. So it's basically towards your business. You have to get a business relevancy from what you're doing. So you're not just doing this because it's I was told in somewhere and then I have to do it because my mentor told me and I have to do this and all that. So it's not like that, right? So you have to make a business sense out of whatever you are doing. Cool, guys? So box plot, again, very commonly used graph for again to identify your distribution of your observation. अब सिमिलर कैटेगरी का ग्राफ है जो हमने कैटेगोरिकल वर्सेस न्यूमेरिक को प्लॉट किया यूजिंग स्ट्रिप एंड स्वॉर्म. बॉक्स प्लॉट भी सेम कैटेगरी का प्लॉट है, बट अगेन इसमें डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मोर क्लियरली दिखता है एंड वेरी कॉमनली यूज ग्राफ. ओके, यू कैन सी द distribution more distinctively. Instead of interpreting from the strip in the swarm plot, you can actually see the distribution of the data. So that is through box plot. ठीक है. Another alternative to box plot is your violin plot. Okay, so same देखो same bill को मैं plot करता हूँ. अब देखो again same है, मेरे पास day और total bill को मैं plot कर रहा हूँ, बट यहाँ पे जैसे मेरे पास box बन रहा है and then whiskers बन रहा है, तो box and whiskers बन रहा है, right? तो इसके अलावा हमारे पास यहाँ पे एक वायलिन की तरह प्लॉट बन जाता है. So अब वायलिन में देखो दो चीजें हैं, तो यहाँ पे इसका टिप्स दिखाई देगा आपको, लोअर टिप, अपर टिप, एंड बीच में इसका बल्ज पार्ट. समझ में आ रहा है? सो दिस इज अगेन वन ऑफ द इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग्स विच यू कैन हैव फ्रॉम योर वन ऑफ द अदर प्लॉट्स विच इज योर वायलिन प्लॉट. सेम कैटेगरी का प्लॉट है आपका, जो कि आपका कैटेगोरिकल वर्सेस न्यूमेरिकल का प्लॉट है, बट अगेन इसमें थोड़ा डिफरेंट तरीके का विजुअलाइजेशन है, बट ऑब्जेक्टिव सेम है. ओके, एंड हियर यू कैन सी द डेंसिटी आल्सो. सो बेसिकली आप जो बल्जिंग, आई थिंक समबडी आस्क्ड मी दिस क्वेश्चन, संदीप आस्क्ड मी दिस क्वेश्चन अबाउट द बल्जिंग पार्ट, राइट? सो वो स्वॉर्म प्लॉट में बेसिकली हमने देखा था कि वो हॉरिजॉन्टल हो जा रहा था. सो दिस बल्जिंग इज बेसिकली गिविंग यू दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन आल्सो कि कहाँ पे मेरा कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ज्यादा है, कहाँ पे डेंसिटी ज्यादा है डेटा पॉइंट्स का. सो दिस giving you two things here. So what is the distribution? Basically my the range of my data. Okay, अगर आप देखोगे पीक छोटी है, मतलब पीक पतली है इसकी. You can see the peak is very thin here on Sundays, and on Saturdays the peak is very thin. So this means that these are the outliers. The number of data points are very less, right? But you see this here on the middle part, the data points are more concentrated. Making sense? Guys, quick yes or no? Making sense to you guys? Again, I'll give you a quick maybe 10 seconds to just digest this. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Okay, so now with this, you have what all we have covered. So we have covered uh, box plot. So box plot is again one of the categorical plots, category versus numerical plot, right? So this is what we have learned today, new, right? And then on top of that, same category, categorical versus numerical plot, we have violin plot also, and actually we started with what swarm plot and strip plots, right? Those are again very interesting plots, but again depending on your usage, what is your objective, we are having multiple plots, and then based on that we're deciding how we are having our purpose solved, right? So this is how it is. Great guys, any questions? Pair plot वगैरह समझ में आया? Pair plot and all that? Cool. So इसमें एक दो और वेरिएशन देख लेते हैं. I believe we should be having some more variations here. ठीक है. Again now, as always, we can introduce hue also on top of this same violin plot. Hue आपको पता है, we can add one more granularity level on top of my data. So इस violin plot में अब again आप hue डाल देते हैं, same gender का डाल देते हैं hue, no problem at all. सो इसमें आपको जैसे बॉक्स प्लॉट में आपको बन के आ रहा था, सेम डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज में दो डिफरेंट प्लॉट्स फॉर योर इंडिविजुअल लेवल्स ऑफ योर ग्रैनुलैरिटी. So similarly, I can have here this part also, like I can have in Thursday I have males and females का different graphs. So आपको दिख सकता है कि females का specifically on Friday the range is quite low, right? So they are on the lower side of paying the bill, okay? And I mean something interesting also, and but the males also you can see the range is quite high, the peaks are very narrow. That means that the number of observations are quite less. There again more of the outliers coming up here. Also on Saturday तो बहुत ही बड़ा major peak है आपको दिख रहा है यहाँ पे, right? So definitely very less data points, outliers. Majority chunk जो है आपका इस section में follow करता है between 10 to 30, right? So likewise you can get multiple observation, you can add this in. I told you this hue is a very important, or I would say a very interesting argument available, so you can use this. So now we have again, can you see this? So in violin plot itself, instead of having two different individual graphs, so if the number of category in hue is 2, so I mean I mentioned sex, right? So basically male and female. So I have only two category here, male and female, right? So if I have such leverage of having, only two individual levels. So for this specific thing, what we can do is we can have my these two graphs combined. So I have another option available, which is split. Okay. So if I do split is equal to true, what it does is it will basically combine these two different classes, male and female, into a single violin plot. Okay, and it makes more readable, I would say. This graph gives you more comparative analysis between your males and females. Interesting, guys. Are you able to relate with this? Is it making sense to you? So again, violin has an interesting feature of splitting the two categories. If you have more than two categories, you cannot give split as true. Okay, that'll give you an error. Okay, but if the hue has two categories, you can use split as true. So you can, instead of having two different graphs, like for example, we have for box also, right? Even for violin also, we had it two different graphs, but we can have it into a single graph split into two halves. So that is also possible. Cool, interesting. I mean, you guys are liking it. Any comments, guys? Quickly. I think with this, we should wrap up for the day. So we can cover the other remaining plots maybe tomorrow. So, but we have covered lots and lots of graphs. I mean, I would say really a hell lot of graphs we have already covered. But almost we are done, guys. So I think एक आपका most probably heat plot एक major रहता है, bar plot major रहता है. So apart from that, I believe most of the things are done. But I think I'll just see my content again once again. But again, quickly, guys, please put up your comments. Just a yes or no or a thumbs up if you liked it. Anything which you want me to cover, anything else, or any other graph which you feel you have an issue with. Because visualization जो है ना यार, एक one of the interesting topic है when you are working on your data, right? Very very interesting thing. So and you have to be very sure of what are you doing, right? So ये करते करते आपको ज़्यादा समझ में आता है. But again, guys, any comments, anything which you feel like. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for putting up that. Anybody else has any other thing to say? So if you're okay, comfortable, or any specific requirement, I'm still asking you that. I'm okay to modify my content, to be honest. So that should not be a major concern for me. But at the end, you should be comfortable of the learning part, right? Any last moment question, guys, from maybe today's lecture or anywhere else? Okay, Sandeep says, is Python data visualization other than Power BI or Tableau? Good question. Okay, so basically क्या है यार, Python देखो एक प्लेटफॉर्म है. Python क्या है, बेसिकली आपका कोडिंग इन्वायरमेंट है, राइट? सो पाइथन के अंदर जब आप विजुअलाइजेशन करते हो, सो यू आर कोडिंग योर विजुअलाइजेशन बेसिकली, करेक्ट? सिंपल सिंपल बता रहा हूँ. बट पावर बीआई और टैबलो क्या है ना, दे आर द सॉफ्टवेयर्स. फर्क क्या है पाइथन, आप देखो फर्क पाइथन और पावर बीआई में समझो. पाइथन क्या है, एक प्लेटफॉर्म है, एक लैंग्वेज है, राइट? यू आर कोडिंग योर थिंग्स. सो आप ये प्लॉट बना रहे हो, कोड करके बना रहे हो, राइट? बट ऑन द अदर हैंड पावर बीआई और टैबलो जो है वो सॉफ्टवेयर्स हैं, ठीक है? ये सेम काम करते हैं. आप उसमें कोडिंग नहीं करना पड़ेगा आपको, आप उसमें ड्रैग एंड ड्रॉप करोगे. एक्स को सिलेक्ट कर लिया, डेटा को लोड कर लिया, एक्स को सिलेक्ट कर लिया, उसको उसमें सिलेक्ट कर लिया, स्कैटर प्लॉट बनाना है, ह्यू ऐड कर दिया. देखो ऑब्जेक्टिव सेम है. आप सेम ग्राफिक सेम तो नहीं बोलूंगा, ऑब्वियसली पावर बीआई टैबलो मोर आई वुड से सॉफ्टवेयर है, तो उसमें वो स्पेसिफिकली बिल्ट किए गए हैं आपके इसके इस पर्पस के हिसाब से. तो आई वुड से इट्स मोर इंटरैक्टिव इन दैट सेंस. बट अगेन, if you ask me that, is Tableau and Power BI mandatory to learn visualization, I would say no. Python is more than sufficient. Python can solve, Python can draw a plot, any graph. I wouldn't say all graph. Obviously Tableau and Power BI में बहुत सारे interesting features available हैं, but at the end they are softwares, right? Obviously I mean कुछ ना कुछ तो limitations होंगे ही Python में भी, but I would say to solve your business purpose, right, Python can do an enormous number of things for you. Okay, so I would say for now it should be enough. But again, if किसी specific job की requirement है कि that you have to be comfortable with Tableau or Power BI, which is a software at the end, so that cannot be compared with Python. But if you ask me only about visualization, so then I would say that Python can solve, I won't say all, but almost all of the jobs which Tableau and Power BI is doing. I hope that answered your question. Right, so with this, guys, I believe we are pretty much done for the day. Thank you so much for being patient and asking your queries. And I hope you guys are liking it, and I hope you guys are understanding also. So because there were lesser questions today, so I believe you are guys are able to understand it. So with this, let's wind up for the day. Let's meet tomorrow same time, 9 p.m. onwards. So we'll be going live for another set of remaining graphs with us. Cool with this. Stay safe. Thank you so much, and let's see you tomorrow. Bye bye.